Soaring, defined as the act of gliding while maintaining altitude, especially the sport of flying heavier than aircraft known as sailplanes, by using ascending currents of air known as thermals. The morning can be a busy time at a soaring contest, removing your sailplane's wing covers to give it a wash and wax, getting a morning coffee before that all-important daily briefing everyone needs to attend, or just telling old flying tales to your buddies. The 18 Meter Soaring Nationals held in Minden, Nevada for 2014 has the best in the United States showing up to compete in a 10-day event. Contestants will get a task of a certain distance to complete for a day depending on the weather conditions. Sometimes it can be 150 miles or almost 400 miles. All pilots at this level are very tuned into the weather and feel of the air around them when they are flying. Let's drop into a typical briefing and see what happens.
So the soaring forecast itself, very interesting, but the change in the temperature from 10,000 feet to 18,000 feet is 20 degrees Celsius today. That's greater than it was yesterday. The trigger temperature, while it's down, that's only at about the 5,000 foot level. In the outlook for tomorrow afternoon, the westerlies are expected to sag a little farther south along the coast for Wednesday, so we'll have a little bit more wind tomorrow. At this point in time, looking down the road, Thursday looks
so. This is about as state of the art as we could probably get just off the street for what we do. So I'd recommend you take a look at it, and then, like I say, you got to learn how to use it. So either take his classes or lay it all out on the bed and start cruising through it and see what else you got. We could spend all day going through the minutia. Okay.
This is John McGrath with Candid Sky Productions. I am on site at the 18 Meter Nationals for 2014 in Minden, Nevada. I'm with one of the crew members of one of the pilots here that is racing, Gary Swift. Gary, glad to meet you. And how's things going for you today?
Going pretty good, John. Today we've got some wave conditions, what the general public calls a red flag warning. With 8% humidity and pretty heavy winds, it's a fire hazard in our 7th year of drought here or whatever it is. But for the pilots, with that wind aloft going over the Sierras, if we're lucky, and it looks like we might have some of this wave setting up. So the task today, I think, will get them into some wave conditions instead of just the standard thermals that people are used to from the flatlands.
Right, and we've had some various conditions here, that's for sure. Some of the guys not too happy a couple days, but that's the weather here at Minden. Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's not, but they have the high-performance gliders that can handle pretty much any of these conditions, be it weak or strong. So it should be a pretty good day. Tell me a little bit about, we just left the morning briefing. Every morning there's a briefing for the pilots and crew. They do a weather. They do any safety procedures, any problems that were the previous day, any kind of air or space closures that have happened. So that's the usual 9 a.m. sort of thing. What usually happens for the crew guys after that? I mean, you go have breakfast? You've got to go? What do you do? Just put me in your seat.
Okay. Well, every crew is different. Some people are here with their wives. There aren't any girls flying in this contest. It's all boys this time. So some of the pilots are here with their wives and families. Other people have friends who pretty good friends because there's some heavy lifting involved. And I'm just a volunteer here with Minden Soaring Club. So I'm sort of roving around and helping the different people who need help. But so far, we're a little more than halfway through the contest, and our routine has been to come pretty early, assemble the glider. Some pilots keep their sailplanes assembled overnight if there's not strong winds predicted, keep them tied down, just like any airplane. But the pilot I've been helping up to this point likes to put his glider away in the box every night in the trailer. So every morning we get here early, put the wings and tail on, fill the wings with water because, like you said, these are really high-performance ships. The water gives them a heavier wing loading, and I'm not sure what the exact number is, 12 pounds per square foot or something. I'm a 126er, so these guys chuckle and think of. They remember them fondly. The other day Ray Gimme asked, "Oh, well, what do you fly?" He's been flying for, 60 years or something. And I said, "Oh, just 126s so far." And he said, "Oh, never say just 126s. And somebody else said, "Yeah, 126s are the best fun for the buck, And somebody else came in and said, "You can land them anywhere, not like our big, heavy, water-filled fiberglass ships."
Right, so essentially you've got let's see, the 126 came out in what, the 50s?
Right.
In the 1950s. But it's a nice single-place ship. It's what the new pilot usually gets into when they get out of the dual-place ship and they're taking the controls by themselves. But it's a nice little glider. But you're comparing apples to oranges when you start.
Yeah, these ships, like you said, they're top performance. 126 from the factory on a good day is supposedly 23-1 L/D numbers. These guys are 46, 48, and when they're full of water, they do that same glide angle, of course, but at a higher speed. So where that helps them here is once they get the climb that they need, it lets them go a lot faster to the next source of lift, and especially if they're going into a headwind, which we've had. If there's not a headwind when you start your task, then it's guaranteed to be a headwind when you're done. Sometimes you have a headwind both ways if the wind shifts during the day. So being heavy really helps them what they call penetrate into a headwind and makes them ground speed. So and then before they land, they have to dump the water because they don't want to overstress the gear. Some of these gliders carry 50 gallons or so times about 8 pounds per gallon.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's like 2 people, 400 pounds worth of ballast. So the good thing is you can dump it when you don't need it anymore. And usually if they haven't dumped it yet, if the conditions have been strong for the course, they'll go ahead and dump it just before they come in to land. So if you ever see a glider flying over that looks like they're spraying the crops with insecticide or something, that's really just the water ballast coming out of the wings.
What about just general, you're kind of floating around, I know that, you said that. Wash and wax, that sort of thing every day?
It's a little bit. They haven't had much bugs over the past couple days, but when there's a little more moisture, and depending on the altitude they're flying, the leading edges of the wings, just like the windshield on your car, can pick up bug splats. And on the 126, it doesn't make much difference. You could punch holes in the wing, make hail divots, and it wouldn't really change them much. But with these guys, with laminar flow design, I've heard of, measurable performance differences just with bugs. So every day includes some wipe downs with some water, some secret Go Fast formula. I discovered some people use 409. Don't tell anybody. Yeah, I know. Anything that gets the bugs off and doesn't damage the fiberglass works okay.
Interesting. Very interesting stuff. Well, I appreciate you giving your 2 cents and your little kind of window into the world of crewing for some glider folks. And hey, good luck to all the guys out there flying today and the rest of the contest. These gliders are very high-tech, with glide computers, GPS tracking, and all the instruments a regular power plane has. I had a quick chat with a busy pilot who was prepping for the day, but we were able to get a demo on something that I thought was only seen in movies.
I'll show you the one of the cheaters in here. If I get low, cannot come back because of the weather conditions. In most gliders, you have to land, get someone to bring your trailer, pick you up, or get a tow from a tow plane. In this thing here, I've got this little jet sustainer that I can pop out before I land.
It's like James Bond, isn't it?
This is a glider on steroids.
It sure is. What size jet is that?
This has 88 pounds of static thrust.
Okay.
So it's not enough to self-launch, but it's enough that I can, if I'm already in the air, or if I can actually get a tow behind a car, get up just a little bit off the ground, and then land back.
Behind me, we have 20 beautiful sailplanes, 18-meter class, ready to go for launch. We're waiting for the thumbs up from the weatherman, and it looks like it's going to be a strong day. I believe they are out for about a 300-plus mile task today. Each glider is lined up in a grid position that the contest director designates. Then we wait, and we wait a little more for the weatherman Dan to give us a thumbs up that there is lift and it's time to launch. But sometimes waiting on the flight line can be a little boring, and some pilots and crew like to keep their minds off the seriousness of flying the competition. We have a go for launch. Looks like 4 tow planes today. It should make for a quick launch, averaging well under an hour to launch 20 sailplanes to get into the air. I am with the guru here, kind of who put this all together, Reba Coombs, and we're just going to talk with her for a little bit and find out pretty much how this got all put together. It's quite an undertaking, as you probably know, because this is, I think, your first time around doing this.
Yes.
So she's finding out what fun it is and sometimes the frustrations of it, but we'll let her tell her little story about how this all got started, and we'll go from there. Reba?
Thanks very much, John. Originally, Nevada, a number of years ago in the 70s and 80s, was a very popular contest spot. And due to a series of things that happened over the last 10 years or so, Minden kind of fell off the soaring map. So we really wanted to bring glider racing back to Minden. So we applied for sanctioning through the SSA, which is our parent organization. And after that was granted, the people that submitted the application said, oh, by the way, you're the contest manager. And so I said, okay, well, I guess I'm going to learn something new. So fortunately, I have just retired from state government, and I think it worked pretty well that I worked for over 20 years with a lot of politicians, and working with contest pilots isn't much different. So, but anyway, we've had a lot of fun. We've got 20 contest pilots. The soaring has been fantastic. We have world champions. We had our pilots meeting this morning, and we were talking about the folks on the world team, and half of the pilots, 10 of the pilots out of the 20, have all been on the world team.
That's pretty amazing. When they started naming off the names, it kept going and going. I'm sitting back there. I said, wow, I'm sitting in a room full of legends here.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because the age bracket goes from 42. We've got 2 pilots that are 42. They're the youngest, up to the oldest pilot who's 82. And they're all competing effectively. It's really remarkable.
That's something else. And you yourself are a pilot, longtime pilot, so you know the ins and outs of being behind the stick and then behind the desk also.
Correct. Yeah, I haven't flown for very much recently, but after the contest is over, I'm all inspired to get back into it. I have my commercial rating, so get back into it and take people for rides. And I'm a member of the Civil Air Patrol, so we'll start working with cadets and get them interested in flying as well. So I'm really looking forward to it.
How is the event going in general from your standpoint, safety-wise and competition-wise and that sort of thing?
It is going exceptionally well. I don't think that we could do anything to make it any better from my point of view. The racing has been fabulous. We had 3 days in a row where we had pilots exceeding 100 miles an hour around the course. Day 2, we had 1 pilot. Day 3, we had 3 pilots. And day 4, anyway, we have 4 and 5 pilots a day that are going around the courses because the weather has been so good. There's been a mixture of thermals, rotor, wave. They've had a sample of everything. The pilots that have come from back east, we call them the Flatlanders. They probably don't appreciate that, but they're just totally wowed by the soaring out here, the mountains, the Lake Tahoe. It's an incredible soaring site.
Well, Minden is and always will be the #1 place in the world for soaring as far as I'm concerned. It has its ups and downs, but it's on the upside now, that's for sure. So we have Soar Nevada down the road here. That's I would guess you would call it FBO for all the soaring activities here. And we also have the club, who you're involved with a lot, correct?
Yeah, the Minden Soaring Club. I'm the treasurer of it. We reinvigorated it about 3 years ago. And it was originally developed to be a club for the voice of the soaring community when we were having troubles out here at the airport. We wanted to have a voice in being able to stay here on the airport. So since that is no longer an issue, we have turned to more philanthropic type things. So we have been able to do a lot of youth scholarships, which we're very, very proud of. Last year we gave out 6, and this year we gave out 8 youth scholarships at $1,000 per scholarship that can be used for flight training, testing, towing, instruction, whatever it takes. We're trying to build up the youth factor in the soaring community because we're just not getting that many in, and it's a good way to do it, and the response has been very, very positive.
That's fantastic, and that is something that keep the sport alive and just keep soaring alive in general. So that's great. So I've got to ask you, what's your prediction? Who's coming in first at the end of this thing?
Oh, it's hard to say. We've got a couple pilots that are neck and neck, and it's local knowledge versus experience. Doug Jacobs, his call sign is DJ. Delta Juliet is a world champion, and he's an excellent pilot. But we also have Rick Walters, who's flying for Bravo, and Rick has the local knowledge. He's been here for years and years, and they've been pretty much neck and neck. They've had a few days where one has outdone the other, but I don't want to predict anything, but those two are going to be in the top.
I figured that was the response anyways. We don't like to predict, especially when it's being recorded. Then you're in trouble if you're wrong. And I hear next year there could be some other things going on here. Do you want to drop the ball on that?
Well, just slightly. Our airport manager is, like I said, we've just got an enthusiastic group of folks out here. Bobby Thompson is very, very keen to apply for the Worlds and have him out here maybe as soon as 2018. We'll see. There's a big process that has to go through with that I understand. So we'll see where that goes, but definitely we are on the map again, and we're going to stay that way.
As the hours pass and the pilots all are reporting they are 4 miles out and coming in for a landing, we must ponder on what goes through some of their heads. Glad to be home? I could have done something more today. But in the end, the families and crew are glad to see them back home, safe.